This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Monday, July 10th, 2023, and we're so glad you could join us for today's show. In today's episode, I will speak with Terry Wolters with the National Pork Producers Council. We will also have a check of the weather, but first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day, we are joined now by Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net for our closing market analysis. Robin, what did we see take place on the grain markets today?
Well, it was a little bit surprising, I guess, looking at the strength in the corn, not so much in the soybeans, but somewhat in the soybeans, because export inspections were released this morning and they were not very good, primarily in the corn. We looked at 13.4 million bushels. That was down 13.2 million bushels from last week. Theoretically, that should have put more pressure on the corn, but it really didn't. Corn was a little higher, and I think that was basically because some of the weather situation, where drier weather up in the higher part of the Midwest. We're looking at a world supply and demand report coming down the line here on Wednesday. So we have a little bit of strength that came into that corn market at least for today. Soybean inspections were 8.8 million bushels. That was down just 900,000 bushels from a week ago. So not too bad there. Wheat was the bright spot at 15.4 million bushels. That was up 2.8 million bushels from a week ago. But we are still seeing some headwinds relative to the export market overall. Now, soybeans were higher, probably because of the real strong rally in soybean oil. Palm oil stocks underpinned the soybean market, continued based on they looked at all of a sudden they had tighter stocks than what they had anticipated in the Malaysian palm oil. And so that came through the market, underpinning the oil market, which did spilled over into the others. Now, we've got cooler weather coming across the Midwest in a 7 to 10 day forecast, some bouts of rain projected to come through. That is good for during the pollination. If that continues and that comes to fruition, it's still up in the air yet how much we might have had some impact on our corn production or soybean production, primarily more corn production at this point in time. Still too early to tell. They are seeing favorable weather in Brazil and a record corn crop, which is leaving their price in the downtrend, which is going to create some more headwinds for U.S. Now, the Black Sea Corridor agreement is set to expire on July 17th, next week. Turkey wants to extend that another 3 months, but Russia basically came out and said there's no grounds for further continuation of that corridor. Now, there's been this back and forth a number of times already, so there'll probably be some kind of agreement being that made, but at this point in time, that really hasn't underpinned the wheat market either, because this has happened numerous times. Wheat is struggling a little bit because harvest is progressing. Now, crop conditions this afternoon will be important as far as how the trade will react. Corn is expected to be 53% good to excellent, up 2% from last week, compared to 64% good to excellent a year ago. Soybeans up 1% to 51% good to excellent versus 62% a year ago, and spring wheat at 48% good to excellent, unchanged from last week, but compared to 70% good to excellent a year ago. Now, the upcoming WASDE report, corn right now is estimated at 15.234 billion bushel production, with a yield of 176.6, and soybeans at 4.253 billion bushels with a yield of 51.4. So that's going to be the focus as we move through tomorrow and then in the first part of trading during the day on Wednesday.
So, Robin, on the grain side today, a lot of support for the various commodities, seemingly for multiple different reasons. Did we see that inverse relationship today from the livestock side? Was livestock down today?
Well, livestock was a little bit under pressure in the hogs sector, but not so much in the cattle side of the equation. Cattle seems to be in the situation where we are seeing the tighter supplies. We are seeing some underpinning of the market on the anticipation that feedlots are going to hold out again for higher, at least steady prices. Now, last week we were steady to $1 lower, but holding out there. So more of that is probably going to be waiting to see what feed prices are going to do, or the grain prices that could impact feed prices on the WASDE report. So cattle were moderately higher despite some of the strength in the corn market. They've been following that fairly closely. What corn does, feeder cattle and live cattle a lot of times do the opposite. But today we actually saw them holding fairly well. Now, slaughter is slowing. Packers are slowing slaughter in order to increase their margins. And so packers aren't going to want to pay more because the last couple of weeks we've seen weakness in box beef. Now, at the noon report today, we actually saw box beef a little bit higher, or actually mixed, I should say, not higher, but they were mixed. So that may change a little bit as we get to the closing print of the day. But one of the things that may be a key in the cattle market this week is purchases last week of the cattle on 29% of those purchased last week were for deferred delivery. Now, packers have been in fairly decent shape as far as cattle ownership is concerned for the month of July. But even with last week, 29% of those purchased were again purchased for deferred delivery. So I think packers are going to hold a hard line this week, and that could have an implication as far as what cash is going to be doing. On the hog side, futures started out pretty firm, moved higher, but they couldn't hold on to that. Now, August showed the greatest swing during the day of about $3, but could not hold on to that, actually looking at a lower close. July goes off the board on Friday, and that's kind of close to the index right now, which generally happens at this point in time. The index, the two-day index was at $98.15, and futures are just a little bit higher than that. Now, on the noon report, cash was lower, down $1.48. Now, that's been a little bit unusual relative to the last few weeks. We saw strong cash coming in on Monday, first part of the week, as packers wanted to get their hands on the hogs early rather than later. So that's a little bit of a change in there. Cutouts, though, at the noon report were up $3.52. That's probably the bigger key that we should look at as far as maybe some continued support under the hog market is the strength that we've been seeing in cutout prices.
Robin, what's the best way for our viewers to get in touch and personalize their marketing plan?
They can call me directly at 877-256-3253 or go to our website, agmarket.net. The 844 number is there. Call in. Somebody will be glad to pick up and help them with a personalized marketing plan.
He is Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net, our guest here today, wrapping up our closing markets. Robin, thank you so much for the time, and we'll speak again soon.
All right. Thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
That was Robin Schmahl with agmarket.net. Let's turn our attention now to the closing numbers, courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. September corn is up 5 even at $4.92 1/4. New crop December corn up 5 even at $4.99 1/2. August soybeans up 27 3/4 at $14.55 1/2. New crop November soybeans up 27 3/4 at $13.45 1/2. August soybean meal up $3 even at $4.0580. August soybean oil up $2.76 at $65.33. Chicago wheat down 3 1/4 at $6.46 1/4. Minneapolis wheat up 2 1/2 at $8.50 1/4. Kansas City hard red wheat down 7 even at $8.11 1/4. September oats up 9 3/4 at $4.29 even. August live cattle up 20 cents at $177.20. August feeder cattle up 82 cents at $246.25. July lean hogs down 20 cents at $98.80. July pork cutout down 32 cents at $104.50. And Class 3 milk down a cent at $14.91. And that's been a check of the Ag Market Recap here on Ag Matters PM. It's time now to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, I will be joined by National Pork Producers Council member Terry Wolters. This is AMPM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today, I speak with Terry Wolters with the National Pork Producers Council. Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Terry Wolters. He is a past president and current board member of the NPPC. And Terry, we're talking labor issues quite a bit here, including, I know that in the entire across the board for the agriculture industry, we've had labor issues for the past few years. Has that lessened any more on the animal ag side?
Definitely not on the animal ag side. We've got a lot of operations that are spread throughout rural America, and we just have a declining population in rural America. I happen to live in Minnesota. I know we've got an ultra low 2.5% unemployment rate in southern Minnesota. We've got a lot of herds that we try and staff in the Dakota areas. We've been asked as producers to locate farms away from people. And in doing so, we naturally locate away from a workforce. And so we've relied a lot on foreign-born workers. We're very proud of the fact that we've been able to utilize the TN program. The H-2 visa program is definitely another opportunity, but it is somewhat restrictive in that it's quite expensive to recruit those workers, and the challenge with the H-2A visa program is that they're only here for seasonal work classification. So about the time we get those employees trained and functional, they have to go back to their country, and so that creates a challenge for us in the livestock industry in particular.
And how frustrating is that as a producer to put that time in to do the training work, do all the right things, and then you lose that employee and they're just gone?
Yeah, so that's the point. We're continually retraining where there's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of process that goes on. We would certainly request of Congress to what we'd like to see is more than a 12-month work timeline instead of the 9-month program that it is today. But we'd also like to just see the numbers increase. That's the other big challenge we have is they're restricted on the number of H-2As that we can use in the livestock industry, and it hardly even makes a dent in what we need.
Is technology able to mitigate some of those shortages of labor?
Not a lot. It's a very labor-tense situation, particularly in the sow farms. When we're hand mating those sows, we're caring for those animals. We do use automation in feeding systems to try and take care of them, but it still is a fairly labor-intense process to move the animals. When the piglets are born, we process those piglets by hand. We take care of those animals by hand. We move them and wean them from their sows. All that process is hand labor, and so it definitely does take workers on the farms.
So, Terry, apart from the legislative side of it and just trying to get some more ability for workers to stay here and work here longer, is there any other avenues you can think of that would just go a long way towards helping producers address this problem?
Well, we definitely need help from Congress to extend. We're looking for visa reform ultimately, and oftentimes what happens is the subject of visa reform gets mixed up with immigration, and they're two totally different subjects. We're looking for foreign-born workers to be eligible to come in and do the right thing, being part of the community. So we need timeline. Extended timelines and more numbers. And then the other part that continues to come up with many producers is they've done the investment and are working with TN workers. But then when the TN worker's spouse comes along with them, they are not eligible to work. And so that just adds to the pressure to, here you have two citizens or two individuals here that could be eligible, and we're only capturing one.
So Terry, apart from labor, what's another issue at a show like this at World Pork Expo that you're talking with producers and they're saying, you know what, this is a problem that we need to address right now?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing right now relative to what's going on in the industry is just the economic pressure overall in the industry. Market prices are not good, but worse than that is our inputs are at all-time highs. And so feed costs are our number one expense in the pig industry. And we've got high corn prices and high inputs, fuel, energy, inflation, building cost, interest rate, you go right on down the line, not to mention the labor part we just talked about. So all of those things cumulatively add up to where producers are just not profitable right now. And then you've got all kinds of regulatory pressure coming from the outside to change the way we do our business, that the extreme activist groups seem to think they know how to run our business better than we do. That's very frustrating on producers' minds right now. But I think generally the independent producer is struggling economically, and so that's added pressure. But then when they see the difference between the wholesale price and the retail price, I get that question a lot as to why that case is, and it's just we're just not getting our fair share of the dollar that it takes to produce the product we do raise.
Terry, is there anything else you'd like to let our Iowa producers know back at home when you're thinking about the priorities right now for the NPPC and what's being done to help them out?
Yeah, so I would pivot completely from anything we've talked about from the standpoint that we all know that ASF is on the island of Hispaniola, and that's a huge threat to the U.S. pork industry. I would encourage all producers. NPPC is really pulling together a traceability program, and our foreign trading partners for us to open exports in the event that ASF or another foreign animal disease would hit our shores. It is paramount that we are able to trace product to safe zones that we can continue to open trade. Otherwise, we've got 25% too much pork in this country overnight, and we're going to have to work our way out of that. So I really want producers to be supportive, get on board, provide inputs. We are developing a traceability program right now that we intend to try and get producer buy-in that ultimately we can carry to the USDA and be part of the solution, as opposed to USDA coming out and saying, hey, this is what you have to do, and it's something that we can't live with. So I really want to encourage producers to get on board, ask questions, and provide your input to develop a program that we can all live with.
He is Terry Wolters. He is past president of the NPPC. He's a current board member. Terry, thank you for the insight and the conversation today, and have a great rest of the expo.
Thank you. Appreciate your guys' work and your support here during the vet.
That was Terry Wolters with the National Pork Producers Council. Let's turn our attention now to the ag weather outlook. A very bright and sunny day here in central Iowa today. In fact, it is sunny for most of the state of Iowa. Some very slight chances for thunderstorms in northwest Iowa, but mostly widespread sunshine. As we turn our attention to tonight, chances increase for some scattered thunderstorm chances around the state of Iowa. And then tomorrow, those thunderstorm chances will continue as it will be partly sunny throughout most of the state, but with those scattered chances. So let's turn our attention now to the National Weather Service and what's in store for the next 24 hours. As you can see from the National Weather Service, mostly sunny skies with a slight chance for thunderstorms in northwest Iowa today. High temperatures ranging from 87 to 91. Tonight, partly cloudy with chances for overnight showers and scattered thunderstorms. Lows tonight 60 to 67. And taking a look at tomorrow, sunny with scattered thunderstorm chances. A wider range of high temperatures for Tuesday with the highs expected 78 to 89. And now for the affiliate weather map for Tuesday. Cherokee, expected high of 78 with sunny skies. Shenandoah, a slight chance of thunderstorms and a high around 87. Des Moines, sunny, then a slight chance of thunderstorms, high around 88. Albia, slight chance of thunderstorms and a high around 89. Waterloo, a slight chance of thunderstorms, then sunny with a high around 84. Clinton, chance of thunderstorms on Tuesday and a high around 89. And as always, for a more detailed forecast in your part of the state, make sure and check with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate to find out more about those scattered thunderstorm chances. And that's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook. That also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our daily content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And you can find our video content and previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. And don't forget our free twice daily market podcast on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. On behalf of Riley Smith and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.